Hey guys, it's Jonathan. Welcome to another video. This is an interesting one. This got sent to me by one of our coaching clients, and I'm excited to talk about it. But I also know that I'm treading in some pretty interesting waters here. So as always, just a quick little disclaimer. So I'm Olympian Jonathan Edwards. I work with aspiring athletes and their families who have like big athletic dreams, like dreams who they want to be Olympians, they want to play pro, they want to go to college, whatever their sport is. I work not just on mental skills, but just kind of as the athlete and the family as a whole. All right. And so this kind of fits a little bit in my wheelhouse. And so what I'm going to talk about today may rub some of you the wrong way. I just want to encourage that if you're going to leave a comment, you leave a well thought out, tasteful comment that takes into account all of our views, not just a one-sided anger view, which is YouTube's known for. So today, what was really kind of cool is that the Budweiser and the HDA, the Hockey Diversity Alliance, released a video, an ad, and it's really cool. And it's called Tape Out Hate, and the Hockey Diversity Alliance is actually based in Calgary, where I live. Now, I don't have any association with these guys whatsoever, but as someone who works with athletes, I just wanted to talk about some things. So, what I love about these programs is that they shed light on some very interesting topics. And so one of the things, one of the topics that every athlete needs to understand is that along your path to doing something great, anything great, you are going to meet with people who disagree and disagree with your with you on any sort of level. It can be because of your color, it can be because of your sex, it can be because of your sexual preference, it can be because of your political preference, you name it. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to want to tear you down. And what I encourage for my athletes is an understanding of you need to realize that these are uh, things that may come your way. Right. So now I fully understand as a white male athlete, I didn't face a lot of this stuff, but um, I did face little bits of it on a very personal level, like where there's just people out there who want to tear you down. And again, whether it's your because of your skill and your ability, or because of where you're from, or where you're not from, these are things that we're going to have to negotiate to have success, and in anything, in any sort of endeavor. And so what I love is that I love that Budweiser and the HDA put out this ad, because what they did is actually they kind of show some clips of, and I'll put the link to this video below. Um, it's a cool little video, it's about 2 minutes, and and they show clips of like what professional athletes deal with in their Instagram feeds and their social media feeds. People sending like just stupid, hate-filled messages and things like that. So I think we all agree, though, that those people will always be in this world, especially during our time in sport. We're not all of a sudden going to flip on a light switch and make all those people go away. Especially now with social media, like everybody has like a pipeline in their pocket of people who can reach out and say really horrific things, right? I've experienced this on YouTube, on Instagram. Whenever you go to share out your ideas, you're going to meet with some people who have opposite ideas. And so I just want to make it clear that while I love what these programs are trying to do, what I wish Budweiser and the HDA had done better was really understood something that as athletes we all intuitively understand, which is you can't focus on a negative. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, so I wrote about this in my book. This idea, I told a story about a mom who had a young boy who every day this boy would spill the milk. Like, she would give him a glass of milk, and then as he walked to the table, he would spill that milk. And then eventually, when he learned how to basically pour from the milk jug into the milk, he would always spill the milk. And this mom would always say, "I can't believe you spill the milk. You always spill the milk. Why do you always spill the milk?" And so what happens is as athletes, we understand a concept of that you can't focus on what you don't want. You want to focus on what you do want. So another story, this was written by Tony Robbins in like one of his first books ever. I think it was called Awaken the Giant Within. I can't remember. I've got it on my shelf here somewhere. But he tells a story about how race car drivers learn how to drive cars. And he was actually learning how to drive a race car. And he put the car into a skid. And what he started to doing was his eyes immediately focused on the wall he was about to hit with the car. Now, the coach, the driver who was with him, who was in the passenger seat, immediately took the wheel and spun it the other way and focused on where he wanted the car to go. And by doing that, the brain was able to signal to the body all the things the body needed to do in order to go where they wanted to go. So, as an athlete, like, how do we apply that? Well, one, if I want to score the winning goal with 5 seconds left to go of the game, and I need to put that puck like top shelf, far side, well, I'm focusing on that. I'm not focusing on the goalie's like left leg pad, right, where I don't want it to go. I'm focusing on where I want that puck to go. Um, as a marathon runner or something like that, like, you're focusing on being in the best possible condition in those last couple miles in order to win, not necessarily like, oh my god, this sucks and why is it raining and oh, I'm cold. We just don't do that. So I think we would agree that when you focus on what you want, and like that little boy with the milk, when the mom changed the vocab to like, why do you always spill the milk, to, wow, every time you pour the milk you get every drop in the glass. Now that little boy has a vision of of seeing the milk going from the jug into the glass, just enough, not too much, right? And then he puts the milk jug down, puts it in the fridge, and off he goes with the milk to the table, and he drinks his milk. What's happening there is he's focusing on what he wants and not on what he doesn't want, right? And so my only problem with these initiatives is, it's not that we want to tape out hate, it's we want peace, right? We want our athletes to be able to train and compete in a bubble of, like, however you want to describe it, love, peace, inclusivity. And when people use the word like racism, there's this discussion that it's like that the opposite of racism is anti-racism. And I don't agree with that. I just don't think that makes sense. That doesn't make sense to me on a lot of levels. What we want is, we want peace, and we want inclusivity, and we want like a loving community where anybody can come to the game and play. And I think at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of really cool discussions on this. Like, the New York Philharmonic used to do, they used to do auditions where they would do what we call blind auditions, and they would have the people who were selecting the musicians, but the musicians playing were actually behind a drape or something where you couldn't see them. You couldn't see who they were, male, female, black, white, yellow, like, you name it. They would just make the decision based on ability. And this is where things get a little dicey. So, first and foremost, what I would love to see, instead of tape out hate, like, I don't want the word hate on my hockey stick, right? I want, some other word that's going to be a more positive vision, a version of what it is we want to have happen. So that's what I wish Budweiser and the HDA had done just a little differently here, which is we're not taping out hate, because what are we focusing on? Hate. And then what's the brain doing? The brain's just looking for hate. We're looking for it everywhere. And what I live this every day when I talk to my athletes is that people are going, whether it's to the rink or to the field or to the hill, and everybody is on edge. They're on this hair trigger, like this, oh, it's like, who's gonna freak out today? Like, is it gonna be the ref? Which parents are gonna be like, okay, when's the coach gonna snap? Right? And everybody is just on edge, because we are just reinforcing these negative words, these negative visions. And from what I understand of the brain, is the brain doesn't really work like that. And athletes understand this intuitively, right? They understand that when when you're going to score that goal in the last few seconds of the game, you're envisioning what you want, right? When the kids in the backyard, um, you know, hitting balls, or whatever the sport is, hockey, soccer, you name it. What are they thinking of? They're thinking of, like, okay, it's the World Cup final and it's penalty shots, and I'm Christine Sinclair, and I'm gonna shoot this puck, or I'm gonna shoot this ball, and I'm gonna stick it right where I want it to go, and we're gonna win the gold medal. That's what kids are thinking of, right? And that's what athletes are thinking of. The athlete isn't thinking like, oh, I hope I don't choke, because what are we just reinforcing? Choking. We're putting that in our head. So So if we understand, if we agree that fundamentally that's the approach, then what we're reinforcing with these stories is it's not about taping out hate. It's about taping in equality. It's about taping in, love. It's about taping in team, right? Those are much more positive messages to convey. And again, fundamentally, as athletes, we understand that our brain wants that, right? I remember years ago, I think it was back in 2014 or 2016 or something, Morgan Freeman, who's a very famous black actor, talked about racism and talked about, the, the idea that when you focus on what you don't want, you're going to get more of that. And for him in his life, he always talked about, you know, he kept his mind clear and focused on the things that he wanted to have happen. And is there racism in this world? Yes. Are there going to be like crazy parents or crazy fans in the stands who are going to send off uh, bad text messages like at 2:30 in the morning to their favorite pro athlete that they can just follow on it? Like to me, this is like one of the biggest things that athletes have to negotiate and learn how to deal with, because you're better off as an athlete and as an organization, again, learning how to deal with that stuff when it happens, right? And making a mockery of those people who keep doing that. We'll keep doing that. We'll let the police get involved in those sorts of things, because no matter what your sport, there's on the field of play and there's things that happen off the field of play. We control the things that happen on the field of play, right? Right. And but sometimes those things that happen off the field of play trickle in. Well, we can't be naive that they're not going to happen. We can't just rely on, other people, or, arranging that there's this barrier. We from an athlete's perspective, we have to learn how to deal with that and move forward. And if we don't, then we are going to succumb to that, like, darkness, if you want to, kind of phrase it like that. Like on the field, it's light. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be a time when we come together, regardless of color or sexual orientation or where you're from, and we are basing our team on skill, because ultimately, to win, it'll be in a team environment. It'll be our ability to execute our skill in that team. And every coach will tell you that you can take, you know, as many athletes who are well skilled and put them now in a locker room. And now that's where, all right, we've got the skill, but now we've got to create the team. And that's where we need to focus, not on taping out hate. We need to focus on inclusion. And how do we build, how do we build bridges cross cultures and cross ages and cross all sorts of stuff, right? That's what we want to have happen here. So what I wish Budweiser had done, and HDA had done just thought a little bit through a little bit more, is this isn't about, you've got hate like on the front page of your website. Ugh, we can do better, right? We can do better than that, because ultimately it's not, that's just part of it, right? That's just one little part. And it's focusing on the negative. What can we focus on that's more positive? You can take your own time and go on a thesaurus and find all the words that you could use, and maybe leave them in the comments below if you'd like. What should have been on this tape? Right? What should be on these black rolls of tape that are now going to be across Canada, I imagine, for sale next to the red tape and the blue tape and the green tape and the white tape, right? And the clear tape for the all that stuff. So again, whatever your sport, whatever your background, whatever your, you know, pronouns, like whatever. It's not about taping out the negative. It's about finding, like, focusing on all the good stuff. Like what's the vision we want of a great team, like that allows people from all over to play. And then what's the vision we want of the fans in the stands, right? It's not about, it's not about racism, because, like, look at Europe. Europe's been talking about racism for years, and it's probably, some people would say it's probably worse than ever, especially in soccer fields and stuff. Like, and they've been talking about, say no to racism for ages. It's like, no, what is it we want? Turn the light on. right? Don't bring more attention to the darkness. Turn the lights on, right? And then what you'll do is you'll make that person or that group of people who act um, kind of in like out of step with the rest of the group, they'll find their way someplace else. And you know what? They're going to take that darkness elsewhere. I saw it firsthand as an athlete on a US Olympic team where we had an athlete in Germany attacked by neo-Nazi skinheads. I've seen the worst of it. And you know what? As athletes, we're going to do better focusing right now on what we can do mentally to get through that stuff. Like, yes, we would like not to have it, but it's going to happen, right? And in the time that we involve in sport, I want my athletes to understand how to get around that, how to deal with that, right? And know that how their brain works against those things, right? But the idea is that for the athlete in the sport, it's time to focus on that, right? And how to navigate it. Let's let the people who are like retired or about to retire, or they're totally set in their career, or they're done, and they're trying to give back to the sport. Let's let them figure that out. But like they're doing here, we've got better word choices. All right. So let me know what your word choices would be. Leave them in the comments below. And do me a favor, share this with an athlete who, who maybe, is dealing with, crap like this, and it's unnecessary. And like I said at the very beginning, if you want to leave some good comments, do me a favor, leave it below. But let's talk in the context of what it is we want and not on what we don't want. All right. Talk about what you want, not about what you don't want. So I look forward to your comments below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Do me a favor, if you like this, hit the like button. Would super appreciate it. And if you are an athlete or a coach or a parent of an athlete who's got big athletic dreams, I hope you subscribe. And I look forward to continuing this conversation with you. Cheers.